Even with Jerry as frontman presenting the news, Channel 5 couldn't rise from third place in the ratings. So soon after his return from the convention, it was decided to revamp the news format yet again. This time expanding the main evening report from 30 minutes to an hour. "We won't drop the baggage of the past and start something new," said Tony Kiernan, their third GM in the time Jerry had been working at the station. "We're putting our people in positions where they do what they do best." WLWT was an affiliate of the giant NBC, which is nicknamed the Peacock because of its multicolored logo. The radical changes came into effect on September 17th to coincide with the premiere of the fall programming schedule. Action 5 News became News 5. The main news, which had started at 6 p.m., was brought forward by half an hour to 5:30, with the first half focusing on what was happening in Cincinnati. Reporters would go out on the streets to interview people about what was important to them and their reactions to local events, and more studio interviews would be done live rather than pre-recorded. The station designed a new set for the first half hour to give the show a more modern and lively feel. Behind the anchor desk was a window through which viewers could catch a glimpse of reporters working away on stories in the Channel 5 newsroom. Now a commonplace feature of news sets, but a relatively new idea back then. Most importantly for Jerry, for the first half of the evening show, he was the only presenter on the news set. While Jerry fronted the first half of the show, his co-anchor Norma Rashid did studio interviews on the original set, which had also been updated by replacing an old backdrop of Cincinnati with a new, more realistic image of the city skyline. She also covered updates of national news. At the end of the first half, she and Jerry joined forces on the old set at 6 and again at 11 for the 11 p.m. news. For the first half of the show, Jerry was told to be relaxed and conversational rather than a conventional authoritative anchor, while still reading the news rather than commenting on it. This was not seen as much of a stretch for Jerry, by now a seasoned professional. It was still the news, but it was also the Jerry Springer Show. The second half of the news show concentrated on major news stories, features, and series. By adding 30 minutes as people were arriving home from work, the station's program was the same length as the early evening newscasts on its two rival stations, as WCPO Channel 9 and WKRC 12, which had both been expanded to an hour sometime earlier. The midday news, which had still started at 11:30, was lengthened to an hour and revamped. Even the color of the cars for reporters to go out on assignments on was changed from silver and black to fire engine red. Although Jerry was given a half an hour of his own, he and Rashid had the kind of on-screen chemistry that meant their team would remain intact for the core parts of the nightly news, international and national reports, and the late-night news. The rock and roll politician turned silk tie-wearing anchorman confessed he was a little nervous at sailing into uncharted waters with the new revamped broadcast. The truth was that it seemed to outside observers that Jerry would have to walk on water to achieve what the station had assigned him to do, make News 5 #1 in the ratings. Well, the pressure was on, and Channel 5 station bosses were convinced that with an expanded news and Jerry, this time they were in with a chance to attract more viewers. Research had shown that viewers wouldn't wait till 6 p.m. for half an hour news show when they could easily get a full hour starting at 5:30 on the other two channels.